Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about my $50 Dungeons & Dragons Forgotten Realms Heroes of Faerun Players Expansion Hail Mary. All right, for Dungeons & Dragons. All right, so I was very happy about this experience, but I'm also like, it's bittersweet. I have to say it's bittersweet. Okay. So I have a Regal movie pass. I absolutely love it. I go to primarily three different movie theaters around me. And so it's real. It is like a dream come true because like I can just open up my phone on any weekend or weekday night, and I can, just fire up the app, and there's a good chance that there's a new movie I want to see, a new movie I want to re-see, or an old movie that they're putting on the big screen again. And so, as a movie buff, it is the best. And because I have these three theaters around me, I can see a movie literally 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, like just, throw my shoes on, go out the door, and it's really amazing. So recently, I was out. I was like, it was a last minute decision, and I was seeing a movie, that evening, and so I get and I go, right, and it's starting to be fall, and so I grabbed my winter coat, right, and so I grabbed my winter coat, and I got my keys, and I have my phone, right, and I had like one more thing, so my hands were like really full, and but I also, like I wasn't wearing my coat in the car, so I was carrying it. So I'm coming in, and I have a whole bunch of stuff like in my hands, right? And I'm just like, and I want to get in, I want to get my seat, I want to get, and I was thinking maybe I'll get some snacks or something. So so I wanted to get in right away, and I really wasn't thinking about it. So, but I brought a book, and the reason why is there's like 30 minutes of trailers, literally 30 minutes of trailers. It's actually 25 minutes of trailers, and I'll bring a book because I've seen those trailers. I go to the movies so often, I've seen most of those trailers, right? And I don't rewatch trailers, especially if I'm going to see the movie. I don't want to see any more of it. I want to go in as fresh as possible. So I brought a book, and the book I had was the brand new Dungeons & Dragons Forgotten Realms Heroes of Faerun Players Expansion. And what's even cooler is this was a special one. I bought this week of release. I bought this at 100% retail. I paid $110 to get the matching FLGS covers for Forgotten Realms Heroes of Faerun and Forgotten Realms Adventures in Faerun, right? So at this point, I'm heading into the movies, and I need to get my ticket scanned. Now, on the app, your ticket's on your phone. So I take my phone out, and I have all these things in my hand. So I actually and I'm carrying the Forgotten Realms, the brand new D&D canon hardback. So and I must have subconsciously been thinking, in my brain, I just wanted to see the cool cover, right? So I put my phone down on the Forgotten Realms book, and I go through the door, and I'm proud of myself because I have, the phone out with my app up, my tickets ready. And also, I go all the time. So, I got this down to a science. And so I have my phone ready, and I have it flat out on the Dungeons & Dragons Forgotten Realms Heroes of Faerun Players Expansion. And I'm not trying to flex or anything. Nobody, when I'm out and about with my, with my D&D canon hardbacks, nobody's like, ooh, cool. It doesn't happen that often, right? And I'm often carrying one in my hand, right? But this day, I had my ticket there, and the guy who was going to scan my ticket was a lot of these, people who work at movie theaters. If they're not the management, they're usually pretty young, right? Like it's a job that young people like. I think they get more flexible hours, or whatever. So he was either junior or senior high school or freshman or sophomore in college, right? Young guy, right? So I have my phone out, and it is laid flat on my Forgotten Realms book, right? And the reason why is in my other hand, I have all this other stuff that I took, like my keys and my coat and blah, 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 right? So I put this thing down, and he scans my ticket, and he goes, hey, is that Dungeons and Dragons? And I was like, yeah, that is Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, yeah, that's Dungeons and Dragons. That is Dungeons and Dragons, uh, Forgotten Realms, Heroes of Faerun, Players expansion. It's brand new. It just dropped last week, right? And it's all the options it's all the player options from the Dungeons and Dragons default setting. And he goes, wow, like that's gold embossed. That's pretty cool, right? And I was like, yeah. Now, there's no line, right? Because this is in the middle of often I'll go see movies on Thursday. I go before the crowd. Opening night is actually Thursday, but nobody goes then. Everybody goes on Friday, right? So I often am seeing a movie on release night, but there's almost nobody there, right? It happens quite a bit. And so there was no line. And so the last thing he says is he's like, wow, that's really cool, right? And so he was talking about the book, right? And it does look really impressive, right? Even with my phone blocking, most of or a good bit of the cover, the gold embossed Forgotten Realms is there, and the FLGS covers. It's one of the reasons why I bought them. They're stunning. They're really, really neat. And it's not just me saying that. Ben from Questing Beast, who hates D&D generally, just like a lot of these OSR guys. And he was like, this is a really good cover. And that pained him, because like OSR indie guys hate admitting that Dungeons and Dragons really has the best art in the world. It's pretty wild, right? So this was a very attractive cover, right? So I was like, yeah, it is. And so he says, hey, that's really cool. And then it broke my heart. He's like, I always wanted to play D&D, right? And I'm like, oh, what? You're right. It's really cool, right? And then at this point, right, I want to continue the conversation, but this is his place of work, right? Like, it wasn't appropriate to continue to talk, right? Because he's doing his job, right? So I was like, yeah, it is really cool. And then I just keep walking right to my seat, right? Well, I stop 15 feet away from the ticket stand, right? And I'm like, ugh, right? And I was like, I don't want to do this, but I have to do it, right? And so I walk back, and actually, I put my phone into the pocket of my coat, and I walk back, and I'm just holding the book, and I'm like, listen, that's pretty wild that you've never played D&D. I'm hoping you get a chance to, and when you do, there's lots of great options in this, that are going to be really exciting for that game, right? And I was like, I would like you to have this, right? This is a brand new $50 hardback, right? And I'm like, I bought it the week before at my FLGS, and I was having a lot of fun reading it. I did not want to do this, right? And so, but I was like, I would, and the guy's like, oh, and so he takes it, because I'm handing it out, and he's like, whoa, and actually he's like, oh, I can't take this. This is probably expensive, right? And I was like, well, tell the truth. I have a YouTube channel, and I didn't tell him, my name or where my YouTube channel was. And I'm like, this is my jam. I love this game, and I'm really hoping that you get a chance to play, and it would really bless me if you take this, right? I'd really like it if you have this, right? And he's like, thanks, man. And I was like, you got it, right? And so then the job was done. I turned around and I went to my seat, right? And that was it, right? Like, and then now the thing that's interesting is this guy had never played, right? And I just handed him a $50, 250-page, D&D canon hardback, right? So this is a Hail Mary, because one, is he going to become a dungeon master? He doesn't have a dungeon master, right? But my hope is that he would be like, oh my gosh, this guy was so excited that just, mentioning that I thought this was cool, he was generous, right? And so I'm hoping that what he'll take away from this is that people who play Dungeons and Dragons are generous and want other people to play, and that's the truth. So I think there's only about a 5% chance that $50 gift is ever going to make it into a D&D game, right? Because there's a lot of obstacles. But there was absolutely no way that I was going to just like, not do what I could do to help this person move forward. So I'm hoping that that he just, takes the book, reads it on his lunch break, and just falls in love with D&D the way I did, and I hope there's a possibility in that, right? And I think there is a possibility of that, and I hope that happens. Now, because I go to these movie theaters, because I have 3 movie theaters, the odds of me seeing him again are fairly low. And my plan is, if I see him again, I'm absolutely not going to follow up. I don't want to pressure him oh, how was the book? Blah, blah, blah. And I want the gift to stand as the thing. But it was a really nice exchange, and I was thrilled. And actually, I'll tell you, it's a little painful because now I got, I'm going to have to rebuy that book. And the reason why is, man, Forgotten Realms, particularly the players, the Heroes of Faerun players expansion, it's a banger. I think the thing that really sold me was the faction section, but I'm gonna have to rebuy that thing. So I'm really hoping that this works, and I also just really want to encourage you, look for opportunities to get the game out there, and also realize we are so blessed, right? That there's a lot of people looking in from the outside in, and it's not easy to find a group. It's terribly difficult to find a group. And so whenever we can do anything to move the ball forward and to move the needle and to get more people into this incredible experience, let's do it. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.